is morally right and correct. We thank you for these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda. Have a motion, please, for approval of the minutes.
We had Jewish members.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by aye and raise hand. Aye. Thank you. There are only 3 of us, but it only takes 3 to be a quorum, so we'll move quickly. I didn't warn you in advance, but McCollar Mitchell, are you willing to introduce our visitors here this I understand this is some of our new youth council folks?
I am. This is part of our school, so our team of
Yes, please come down here back in here. Yes,
Good afternoon. This is part of our team of youth council officers for the City of Statesboro Youth Council. Here we have right now 6 of those officers present for today. They will be attending regularly our city council.
wonderful. Would you like to stand and introduce yourselves, each of you? Please.
Hello, I'm William Fry, and I'm the service committee chair for the Southeast Statesboro Youth Committees. Yeah.
Thank you, lady.
Good evening, my name is Bernice Goodman. I am the officer of the Events Committee.
Where do you go to high school? Where do you go to school?
I go to school at Statesboro High School.
Statesboro High School.
Thank you.
Southeast Florida.
Southeast Florida.
Good evening, my name is Alicia Johnson. I go to Southeast Florida High School and I am the public outreach committee chair.
Yes.
Good evening, my name is Chloe Jones. I go to Statesboro High School and I am the District 1 representative for the Statesboro Youth Council.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Ashton Reason. I go to Southeast Florida High School and I'm the secretary of the Youth Council.
Good evening, my name is Cody Taylor and I am the district representative and the Southeast Florida High School School Liaison.
Good evening, my name is Rosaria Joyce. I am uprising senior at Statesboro High School and I am Statesboro High School School Liaison and representative of District 2.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Winston. Is everybody who's here? Well, thank you, young people, for your willingness to serve and for being here with us tonight, observing what happens at City Hall and City Council meetings. You're welcome. We're moving down to agenda item number 5. This is the consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2023-30, resolution amending the housing assistance policy of the City of Statesboro. Mr. Kenny?
Mayor, members of the council, at the last meeting, I think Mr. Justin Williams presented information to you in reference to the housing rehabilitation program. We needed to amend our policy as it relates to reconstruction. Right now, the affordability period is a 5-year period. And if we do reconstruction, which would be more intense and more expensive, we would extend the affordability period in 10 years.
That's correct.
And at the council meeting, Councilmember Boyum asked us to ask you to defer this and wanted to get some input from the representative from the GET community. And so we do have him on Dr. Malik
Watkins. Yes, sir.
Watkins is online. He's in northern Georgia, but he was able, because of technology, to be able to join us we did have a conversation with them, and I guess the question was, before Dr. Watkins shared anything with you, what we talked about, we received 83 applications for the housing rehabilitation program, and you approved using $5 million from our ARPA funds to start our rehabilitation program. As a part of that, we done inspections on those 82 homes. And out of those 82 homes, 28 of those homes are irreparable. Therefore, we would need to have those homes reconstructed. And so you've asked us to look for opportunities to be able to fund that, because if you did reconstruction, those 28 homes could actually spend the entire $5 billion. So with the ARPA funds, and I know we've had high inflation, but we've also had higher interest rates. So we are seeing a little bit better return on our invested funds. And so we recommended to council to utilize $300,000 of the $500,000 that we have made in interest, and to utilize $100,000 for each home added to the $50,000 for the regular rehab, to take 3 of the worst homes, to reconstruct those homes in those neighborhoods. And again, Mr. Boyum wanted us to get some input to see if that would be something that would be recommended. And so we shared that information with Dr. Watkins, and I see he's off camera now. Were you going to introduce Dr. Watkins?
I intended to, yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll call him Justin Williams to do that.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Council. So Dr. Malik Watkins has been our facilitator in the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing for the last 3 years. He is a professor at the Arlington Institute, and he has been extremely helpful as we move forward throughout this program, help establish this program, and to really get us into the right place as we move forward in Statesboro's future for housing. So, Dr. Watkins, can you hear us on your end?
Can hear you.
We can't hear you on this side.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. I'm here.
Great. We have well, first, we have any specific questions for Dr. Watkins about the policy we're about to vote on? Council members?
So the specific question that came from Councilman Boyum was if the $300,000 utilizing that for reconstruction was the best use of funds moving forward for the community. He was concerned that, at least from what I could tell, that was not the best use of that money in terms of really helping make an impact. And that was kind of the area that we discussed when we spoke to Dr. Watkins. So if you could, Dr. Watkins, can you kind of speak to us in regards to what your opinion is on it and how best we can move forward?
Okay. Yes. So the main thing I would say is that, well, right off the bat, good to meet everyone virtually. Also, I would like to tell you that I actually live in Savannah. So I only go to Athens a few times a year, as we could say, to go kiss the ring from time to time, if you understand. But I actually live in Savannah. So I got my start, so my field is housing, city planning, and I got my start actually working for a housing developer. So in this particular instance, what I would say is that when we start to look at what your intended outcomes would be, the main focus should be on what you determine they should be, not for me or someone else. I would say that when you start to look at the amount of money that you want to spend or that you can consistently generate, one of the main things we always have to deal with in terms of, even myself when I spent time working for a developer, is removing uncertainty. And if you can put a certain amount of money into your local market or neighborhood, it provides a signal on a regular basis to developers and those those homeowners and other individuals, anyone who has an investment in that little particular market area. One of the things that we call it in the development industry, we call it the effective market area, the EMA. And so we've taken your neighborhood, we take your region, but we'd also break it down to each specific area, each specific neighborhood to go into an effective market area to then look at what can be done, what is consistently done on a regular basis to remove uncertainty, to show investment in a particular area. And so in this particular instance, for me, it wouldn't necessarily be, well, just doing rehabs or just doing new build. It would be, what is your intent over time? Because that's what the goal is. And how do you signal others? Because, other people can always look at an area and say, oh yeah, well, the city should do this. And oftentimes how the housing market works. And we look at the amount of money typically that has to be invested to manage these market areas, these effective market areas. The number gets really high, particularly when we look at when the market gets excited and starts looking at a particular area. And so, so the main thing would be to say that what you can consistently invest over time in a particular area, whether it's in housing or infrastructure or anything else, tends to be the signal for the development arena on what you can do over time, and that tends to be the signal.
Thank you, sir. So one thing that I heard you say was what we can consistently generate. So that kind of raises a concern, because this is one-time ARPA money we're talking about dedicating to try to rebuild 3 of the worst homes that didn't qualify for the rehab.
Could I say that?
Sure.
So to Dr. Watkins' point, consistently being able to put money in, a couple of things. One, this is sort of like manna from heaven to have those interest dollars. And I would say to the mayor and the council that I don't think this is a one-off opportunity. That is this year. Those funds will continue to be reinvested, and we should have more funds next year from interest earnings. But when we brought this to you, we initially talked about in order to be able to do reconstruction, it is our intent to apply for CHIP funds. And so with the use of CHIP funds, the CHIP funds can be used to help with reconstruction. The amount of money that you would receive from CHIP funds, first thing we have to do, we have to demonstrate to DCA that we have the ability and the capability to run a strong housing rehabilitation program. And so when we apply redoing these homes will add to our show, will add to help us demonstrate that we can administer this program. So the CHIP funds would be the funds that we would recommend that we use on a consistent basis once we start receiving them. So we should get more interest next year, and hopefully we're going to start receiving some CHIP funds.
Thank you for clarifying. So what's on our agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the resolution. We've been talking about it a couple of meetings now. We thank you, Dr. Watkins, for being available, and if you will, hang on for another minute in case there's more questions and discussion. But the next item, I think, would be for one of the 3 of us to make a motion to approve this resolution to amend our housing assistance policy. So I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
Any further discussion, or do you have any other questions of Dr. Watkins about it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Watkins, for being available to us. Appreciate you.
Well, can I schedule you all for my future life? Because you all have made things so easy to deal with. Can I put you all on my calendar? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, since you're our neighbor in Savannah, feel free to visit anytime.
Yeah, if there's anything I can do to help support you all, I mean, I've got a lot of experience doing these things. I'm not self-serving. And Justin has been great. If there's ever anything I can do to help and support, even if it's just a cup of coffee and a discussion, please always let me know. I'll be right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So the resolution has passed. And we move on to agenda item number 6. We have a public hearing with consideration of a motion for 2 different applications. The first being 230503, where Mr. Osaka is requesting the annexation of approximately 54.06 acres in order to develop a single-family detached subdivision on Kawana Road. So I think, Justin, if you want to do them both together, should I read both? We have to vote on them separately, don't we?
They do have to be voted on separately, but we will be addressing them together.
Okay, thank you. So we also have an application to change the zoning once we annex it, if we annex it. So Justin, tell us all about it.
Thank you.
Do we open the public hearing?
Also, we need the public hearing first.
So moved.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so we'll open the public hearing and then, before you do, okay, give us the overview and then I'll ask if there's anybody here for it. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The property is a vacant lot that sits between multiple proposed and under construction developments on Kawana Road. At this time, Kawana Road is a county road, and it has been identified in our last long-range transportation plan as a road that does need improvement to ensure adequate service. One of the issues that came up historically has been the county's timeframe for opposing or objecting to an annexation, and their objection timeframe ended on the 14th of July. So it's all on you now. If you take a look at the location, you'll see on Kawana Road, it is like I said, it's a vacant lot. Extends from Kawana all the way to the bypass. To the north and south are proposed developments, as well as directly across from it. But the single family development to the east is actually in the county. As you'll note, this is in our potential annexation area, so the type of development is really at this point, however you'd like to develop it moving forward. They have proposed a single family development, and as you'll note, to the south, there's a fairly large PUD actually. And there's a fairly large PUD that was approved by this council about 2 years ago that is currently under construction. Property, as noted, big empty field. A portion of the property you'll note is also a big empty field to the other side, but a big chunk of that is under construction. And you'll notice that in one of the bottom photo, actually, you can see the entrance. And to the north is just woods. The proposed development is as such. You'll note that there's 141 that completes my report, and I'm open to questions, and the applicant is present.
Thank you. So I think keeping in order, the next thing is to ask, we have folks who want to speak for the request.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, and members of our staff of the city. My name is Hayden Rollins with Husky Bell, and I'm here on behalf of the developer. First, I'd like to just say thanks to the city staff. Just this whole process of annexation has been pretty labor intensive. I know, especially with Ms. Kathy being out, Justin has had to pick up some extra slack, so he's done a great job. Jason and Kane both played a crucial role in getting us through. So I'd like to thank them for getting us to this meeting tonight. Just to elaborate a little on what Justin said, we are around 140 lots. We will be served by existing water and sewer that the city has out there. We'll be extending those lines. Currently, the homes will be around 1,600 to 2,500 square feet in the low to high 300s price point. We have public roads that will be inside the development. We'll, of course, connect to Kawana. The developer is fine with all the conditions. I would like to discuss the traffic study need. Not to question that Kawana is certainly, I would say, not in the best condition right now. But I think it would be unfair for our developer to have to improve other portions of Kawana. So I would like the council to consider specifying in the motion that any improvements that are needed would be specifically for our developer. that we're not a burden on, say, Burkhalter and Kiwanis intersection or anything like that. So I don't know if that's possible in motion, but I'll allow that to be considered if possible.
Thank you, Hayden. Let's come back in council discussion and ask staff about that maybe. Is there anyone else, and please stay available if you will. Is there anyone else who wants to speak for this request? Hearing none, is there anyone who wants to speak against the request to annex this property? Or the rezoning? Okay. Hearing none, nobody wants to speak for or against other than Peggy Rollins that you've heard from. So let's close the hearing.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we can discuss and maybe start with asking staff to respond to what Mr. Rollins has requested.
The intention for the traffic study was specifically in relation to their specific development. We wanted to just make sure that when you reach those roads that are going to be connecting to the one, there's no issues, whether it's turning into the development or trying to get out of the development. So that language certainly can be amended to reflect that, but the intention was never for them to try to fix any other part of Kiwanis Road.
Developer certainly fine with that.
I just wanted to specify, he just rolled over. That is a thought.
Oh, yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Sure. So any other comments or questions, council discussion? Okay, then I'll call for a motion to approve or disapprove the annexation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we have approved the annexation of this property, and now we need to vote separately on the rezone. Do we have any further discussion or question about the rezoning? Anything else we need to hear, Justin?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'll call for a motion. Do we want to approve the rezoning of this? Of course, it comes in as R40, and we want to rezone it as R6 as requested. So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So we have annexed it and rezoned it. Thank you both. Now we have a public hearing of consideration of a motion on application SC 230601 for Encore Capital Management LLC request a special exception for the R3 medium density residential zoning district in order to allow for a real estate property office on about 4.4 acres located at 1301 Fair Road. And we've got a request to defer, but we're going to hear the presentation while we're here today.
Absolutely. So the property is currently mostly
Can we
vacant.
open the public hearing?
Oh, I apologize.
Thank you for keeping this straight.
It's okay. So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, they're open, we are open for the public hearing. Please proceed.
The property is mostly vacant. There's a dilapidated house on the property, adjacent to Martha Lane. I imagine some of you are familiar with it. This special exception will be a part of a phase 1 development for the property. The applicant's intent is to develop the remainder of the property using the R3 standards. The full scope and number of units have not been determined, but we do know that the intention is just for this property office to kind of bring everything to a central hub moving forward for that. If you look, 1301 Fair Road is a fairly contentious property from my understanding. We've had a lot of items come up for approval here in the past. None of them have moved forward. You will note the residential redevelopment character area within our comprehensive plan, which of course does call for some medium density residential, which is thankful we have that zoning in place. And the zoning, as noted, is R3. One of many sides of the property that we have a photo of is in your top left-hand corner. Property to the east, which is the Woodlawn subdivision, is to the bottom right. Property to the north, just going up Fair Road, is to your top left, and the south is to the bottom right. If you'll note, the property does have an entrance listed as going on to Fair Road as well as to Martha Lane. So that is the general makeup of it, and as you'll note, Georgia Avenue also is a part of the property, and that is where the initial intent for the entryway would be for the multifamily aspect of the project. Staff does recommend approval of the special exception. If the petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Approval of this special exception does not grant the right to develop on the property without accordance to city code and approval by the Department of Planning and Development. And the second condition is that development of the main office building must be in accordance with the provisions of the O office and business zoning district. So we have some standards there for how we develop it out. The applicant has requested a tabling after a discussion with the community, so I do leave that to the council to discuss. That would be fine. And the applicant is present.
Thank you. So should we continue the public hearing to see if there's anything here who wants to speak for or against before we consider deferring the motion?
I think we're ready to defer. Ready to go ahead because my HOA and Ms. Hodges, we're going to get together and make sure this thing comes out wonderful for everybody. So we're going to do that. We're going to meet within next week or so, and then we'll be back on the next meeting.
So come back on the first of
Well, it's a rezoning, so that we get things right.
and then you do a public hearing
Yes, sir.
and city comments.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That time we would do everything we were planning on doing here.
So 15.
So we are going to just close in the public hearing and then consider it a deferment. We don't need to go through for and against. No. She keeps us straight, so we'll do it how we're supposed to. So is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved. Second.
Aye. Thank you. And we had our discussion that we're talking about deferring it for a month. And so we need a motion to defer it.
Motion to defer.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So thank you for being here, Lisa, and presentation. I'm sorry.
So deferring and tabling is probably like tabling to a time specific.
Right.
Either
word are going to be fine. Just to make sure, did you confirm that it was for the 2 meetings from now, not the next meeting?
Yes, sir. 2 meetings from now because we have all of our rezoning. That's always at
On the
the
second
later meeting.
That works.
Okay.
That's fine.
That works for us. Thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you both. So that means that you're starting for the 15th of next month. Next is our public hearing, consideration of a motion to approve an application for rezoning on 330602 Mitchell Ball, request a zoning amendment from the R20 single family to the R2 townhouse in order to develop approximately 78 units on 11.5 acres at 380 West Side Road. And so we first need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then Mr. Williams, tell us about this one.
Thank you. This property is currently a vacant wooded lot with access to West Side Road. This property is actually been subdivided. It was a part of the Bell House, which is, I'm sure everyone is a bit familiar with the Bell House Event Center. So this is 11 acres off of that main property. To be aware, it does still show on our maps, so the property is aligned. It just has not been updated to GIS, so this is a separate parcel. The initial application does show, or it does not show, a connection to the northern property. So if council remembers, the property to the north was zoned R6 single family residential. This project does not show any connectivity to that project. That is a possibility in the future that has been discussed with the applicant, but we do not know if he intends to do that at this time. The development of this project still requires subdivision approval. So at some point, we may have a slight change in the makeup of this project, but it will be required to meet all R2 standards moving forward. If the makeup of this project and the northern project do change, they're still going to maintain the zoning that has been put on them. So there will be no townhouses to the north of this project. The proposal shows that There is not a requirement for an additional fire exit. Generally, that is only at 130 units in this is 70. So if you look, you'll see the larger parcel to the right on this particular map is the 11 acres. The Bell House is captured on the bottom right corner of this parcel. That's not part of it. You'll notice that this is an established residential neighborhood, just as the northern subdivision is also, as well as Little. So this particular type of housing is not something that we've specified historically within our character areas, but when we go through the process of our comprehensive plan, townhouses, as they stand, will be a new thing that we have to add and kind of figure out where they go. As you'll note, the project, as I mentioned to the right, is on R20, and they are requesting R2. If you look, you'll see a lot of woods. Unfortunately, we kind of cut down some woods, but that is basically the entirety of that strip. A large bit of woods to the west as well. And across the street, there is some development in the county and more woods on the opposite side. If council will see, as I mentioned, there's a cul-de-sac that stops a second entrance from being placed onto West Side Road. Because this is a non-binding sketch that does eventually have the potential to become an exit on West Side, but at this time that is not really something we're discussing. When we go through the process of subdivision, that will come back up, and all road work will be completed at that time. Staff does recommend approval of RZ 23-06-02. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the right to develop on the site without approval. All construction must be approved by the city. And the second condition is that prior to construction commencement on any proposed lot, a subdivision plan as well as the bylaws and restrictive covenants shall be reviewed and approved by staff, in addition to any other applicable city of Statesboro subdivision regulations. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Good afternoon again. Hey, Ron, presided. Here on behalf of the developer. Like Justin said, this is a request for R2 zoning. This site is served by water and sewer that the city currently has out in this area. I would like to kind of clarify the option to potentially connect this with the other R6 that's directly to the north. We don't currently know what this final layout will look like, but we would like that option. As far as trees are concerned, the developer is certainly understands how the property looks today, and we will do everything we can to save what we can where we can. This development, we believe, is in the perfect spot, right next to R6, and similar zoning. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the council or staff may have.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins. Is there anyone else here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against this request?
I have concerns out here.
Yes, please come. Identify yourself.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Laurie Best, and I'm a Quail Run subdivision resident. And the first question I would like to ask is Mitchell Ball and Ball Construction Company the same entity?
I'm sorry, could you?
Say it again,
Oh,
please.
it's Ball Construction Company and Mitchell Ball the same business? And I asked that question because Ball Construction Company applied for R6 in Quail Run, and it was passed. And then they again applied to change it to R2 for townhouses, and it was denied. And I wanted to be sure that Mitchell Ball and Ball Construction Company were not the same.
Thank you.
And you're saying they're two different?
I'm not saying anything. The applicant is speaking on
Okay,
that.
well, who could answer
The
that for
applicant
us?
is the one speaking on that.
Just to clarify, the R2 was was pulled, so.
I will look at it.
So the property was on R6. There was potential to try to attempt to zone it R2, but the developer decided that was the best thing along with city staff. So that's when the R6 came about. The property is currently zoned R6 to the north, but this property in question is separate. So it is not connected directly to Quail Run Center.
But that still then, who would know if Ball Construction Company and Mitchell Ball is the same?
I don't know that matter is relevant.
Because I'm concerned about that, because if Ball Construction Company still has possession of that 32.6 acres that's connected to Quail Run, and if he's building these townhouses later on, it's gonna open the floodgates for him to come back and apply for R2 in our neighborhood.
But again, ma'am, it would take this.
I know that, and that's why I wish my councilman was here, so she'll be aware and watch out for our community.
And to your point, the zoning changed went to R6. The R2 never came before.
I know it was denied in planning commission, I know that. I realize all of that.
Well, it still when it comes to, I think it was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn.
It never came.
Okay, all right, but please be aware that we're concerned about our neighborhood. We want to keep it a nice place for us to live, and I want to be sure that when you start those townhouses on West Side, it does not move into the R6 zone. Thank you.
Well, Run, we'll keep that as quiet as
Please do.
it is now.
So for clarification to the council, Ball Company Limited was the LLC that applied for the R2 to the north, and that is what we do. And that is Mr.
Same company. The same company.
Thank you, your question, yes.
That's my question, see.
Thank you. Okay. Hey, someone else to say against?
Hi, my name is Holly. I am a local from Portal, but zoned for Statesboro. So I just had a few questions for the developers as well, and the city or whoever can answer this question. What kind of monitoring or assessment is required of the area? How are you making sure that that area can handle an additional 78 units as well as the first project? And what kind of environmental protection is going on in that? Justin, sir?
Okay, so I think during this period, we're asking who wants to speak for and who wants to speak against.
I didn't know if I was going to have a chance because there was not given one last time.
Okay, sorry, thank you. So, but you're speaking against the request and raising some questions you'd like council to ask on your behalf. Is that right?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wants to speak for or against what's before us now? Okay. Well, I'm going to try. So, thank you for raising the question. The question is, what has been done to be sure that area can support it? And then, is there any monitoring going on to be sure it happens like it's approved?
Yes, and for the trees and things, are they going to be able to be harvested at least for timber or wildlife displacement?
So I can speak to that. This project, as well as all others, have to go through all kind of environmental guidelines. This project in particular, most likely has wetlands on site, so we will have to coordinate with Army Corps of Engineers to get that determination done. Along with that determination, there are many other species that are checked for, endangered species on site, that the Corps of Engineers make sure that each of these sites do not have prior to construction. So that's what will be done. As far as the harvest of trees, any trees that are able to be harvested and are profitable, most likely will be. But it is not the intention of the developer to go through and clear cut the whole site and build back, because the way the current ordinance is set forth, certainly would be mighty expensive, having to replant trees again.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Do we have anyone else who wants to speak for or against the motion before us? Okay. So, what you raised, Holly, my understanding also, we do already have some tree protection, so if there are trees on the property more than 24 inches in diameter, then staff is watching out to be sure that those get protected. And there may well be. Is that correct, Mr. Williams?
Heritage and historic trees, yes, ma'am.
And that's like over 24 inches in
Yes,
diameter? So I hope that helps too. You know, I share your concern that we preserve as many trees as we can. Anyone else to speak for or against? We need a motion to close the hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have discussion before we have a call for a motion on this.
I want to know if that answered your questions.
So the only other thing that I think as a young person here is that people around us are missing the great thing of community. Oh, okay, sorry.
We have folks on Facebook who follow us.
Oh.
So we need to
I
go.
love Facebook. I love Facebook. I thought about tuning in from Facebook, but then I decided to come. So I'm from here. I've been to Georgia Southern. I live in Portal, but I frequent Statesboro. You have to come here for everything. I think that most people rely on the grocery stores, and somehow I'm thinking about the city's infrastructure and how everyone, we're driving all over creation when we should really be putting our resources closer to us as far as food and things like that. And I think people living in separate entities and without knowing their neighbors is not as healthy or as productive as for society as it could be. We have all of these amazing resources with technology and connecting everyone, yet we are so disconnected from each other. Are we not? Think about it. Do you know the person sitting next to you? I mean, I'm happy to be here and preaching now, but let me stop. So that I would say I have a lot of concerns, and I'm just here as a citizen. So thank you. I don't know. It answered some questions.
Thank you.
But yes, I'll try to be quiet now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly. Yes, and as we're going to point out later in another, staff is available to its citizens. Call City Hall and make an appointment with any department you want to talk with, and all your elected officials also try to make ourselves available. So reach out to any of us if you want to have more specific conversation. And thank you for being here today. Okay, any further discussion, council? Okay, then I call for a motion to approve or not on this application.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we're approving as written.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the conditions that were spoken. All right, all in favor? Thank you, the motion carries. Okay. The next two items on the agenda, 9 and 10. Number 9, we have a public hearing, the first reading of ordinance 2023-07. This is an ordinance amending, I think it's a zoning statute for code of ordinances in order to implement Article 32, creating security requirements for apartment complexes, and namely camera systems and control access. So actually, we've had a request because some of the members are out of town, and the workers who had interest or concerns about it. So we've had a request to defer this to the next meeting, or to the 15th? Okay, to August the 15th. For both of those, let's take them one at a time. Council, do we want to defer? We'll go through a public hearing now. Okay, okay, all in favor? Thank you. So we are deferring agenda item 9 until August the 15th. Same thing on 10, but I also did need to say that anybody who's here or listening on Facebook who had concerns, staff has indicated a willingness to meet and try to answer questions separately. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to the City Hall or to your representative at City Hall. And number 10, public hearing and first.
They'll call the manager's office, and we'll be glad to coordinate with the number of folks. I know that number of folks in the room have some interest, and we'll be glad to sit down with staff and let's look through the ordinance and see what the concerns are, so that when we bring it back to you all, we'll bring it back in a work session and then place it also on your agenda.
Okay. So does that feel good to the folks in the room who showed up expecting to comment in a public hearing, or are there specific questions you want to raise right now? We're trying to follow order, but also accommodate folks who showed up for something. Anybody have a specific question or request right now?
Will there be a notification of, or we need to just make an appointment to meet individually?
We'll set it up, RT.
Okay.
The folks that are interested, I think the home builders have an interest. I know the folks from the Commission of Business Bureau, and there may be a few others, so we'll work it out with staff and coordinate a time to have city attorney, our police chief, someone from our office to be in attendance, so we can do it. Shaping, the ordinance that we're not trying to create, not trying to create bureaucracy. We love bureaucracy, but we want to make sure that we're accomplishing the goal that we started out with this item.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here, all of you for being here. And then agenda item number 10, a public hearing and first reading of ordinance 22308, an ordinance amending chapter 18 businesses of the state's code of ordinances in order to implement article 11, creating licensing and operational requirements for event spaces. Similarly, we've had a request to defer this until August the 15th. Do we have any discussion, council, or concerns about that? This is the ordinance about the event spaces.
No, ma'am, I'm good with defer.
Okay. Anybody come specifically for that before I have anything to say right now? Okay. Well, then I'll call for a motion to defer.
Move to defer.
Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. So agenda item 10 is deferred until August the 15th. Next is consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2023-09. This is the ordinance amending section 82176 of our code of ordinances regarding age of construction fees, ATC. So if you want to come in on this first? Yes, please.
Mayor, members of the council, what this is what we're recommending is that we amend our ordinance. What we try to do in our ordinance is to make sure we don't put monetary figures in the ordinance. And in this case, the ordinance, the age of construction says it's $1.60 per gallon. And so what we're recommending is that you amend the ordinance and remove the monetary amount. Those items will be placed in the fees and charges schedule. And so we recommend that you amend the ordinance to strike the dollar amount, and then we'll come back later and recommend you amend the fees and charges schedule. I think I got it right.
Okay. So this is one we do not need a public hearing on.
That would be.
Mayor Pro Tem, the recommendation from staff is to waive formalities under section 224 with unanimous, should there be unanimous vote to waive formalities and go ahead and approve, just because of the fact that this is not really going to affect anybody. It's just a more fixed house. It's a housekeeper.
Keeping the papers all in.
Right, that's all it is.
Okay. Council, does that sound good to you?
Yep.
Okay. So we don't need a public hearing. I need a motion to approve or disapprove of the ordinance as presented.
And waive formalities.
And waive formalities. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Agenda item number 12 is public hearing consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2023-33. This is a resolution to increase council compensation. Need a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Kate, calling you to give us an overview about this, please.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor Pro Tem. This is a consideration of a resolution that will increase council member pay from $7,500 to $75 to $11,000, and and Mayor Pro Tem pay from $9,342 to $13,500. These salary increases would go into effect on the first council meeting following the next municipal elections, and that date will be January 2nd of 2024. The budget impact would be $17,235 annually.
17,000, that's it?
That's it.
That's what the difference would amount to. Thank you, Kane. Is there anyone here to speak for this request? Is there anyone here to speak against the request? Do we have anyone present who wants to speak for or against the request? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Discussion, council.
Business, I have given it much thought. Just want to make sure, as an elected council member, I don't get the raise unless I get reelected.
That's not correct. Everybody, the whole slate will have the increase.
That is not correct.
In January.
Unless we get,
That's too hard to, the bookkeeping on it, staggered like that's impossible. The state legislature knows that. It is for the entire body upon the rate of pay will change for all council members and Mayor Pro Tem on January 2nd.
I think what John was trying to say, if me, Sherry, and Paulette don't get reelected, we will not benefit from this because we won't be here.
That's absolutely correct.
Right, so that's what I think he was trying to say.
But I've still got 2 years to go.
Right, so yes, we'll benefit.
So I'll be giving myself a raise.
That's it.
And I mean, I don't want you guys to look at it as this is a us thing. This is something that needs to be done. It has not been updated since 2004. We have made so many changes and updated so many ordinances that needed to be updated since we've been in this organization. This is just one more thing that needs to be updated.
Agreed.
So to clarify, normally the mayor doesn't participate in votes unless there's a tie to be broken, but because I have a dual role representing District 5 and myself, as well as Mayor Pro Tem, I get to discuss as well as vote on these issues. I agree with Ms. McCollar that we need to be up to date. We need to be paid in alliance or in alignment with the other cities our size around us, and we haven't had a raise in 20 years, and I think it's justified. I have concerns with, I would rather be a smaller increase in this time of economic uncertainty. My second concern is that we are saying we want to increase the pay for whoever is elected as the council people and whoever is elected as the mayor pro tem, but not changing the mayor, because the mayor specifically requested, the mayor now specifically requested that. But as Venus was saying, it's not just about, it's about whoever holds that position. So I had some concerns about raising 2 and not the 3rd. But our city attorney, in order for us to change anything that we approved last time, we have to start over and go through the 3 weeks in the newspaper and all of that. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that is certainly possible as well. We could have an amended resolution could be properly advertised and be before y'all on the April 15th agenda, which would be, August, I got amazements up there. August 15th agenda, which is 6 days prior to commencement of qualifying in this. So it is possible to do it in that manner.
Okay, we can also vote on it and then make a motion for mayor after the fact. Is that something that could be done?
It would have to be a new advertisement to just raise the mayor's pay, yes, and then that could be considered at August 15th as well.
Just a clarification.
Sure. Because it is the council, it is council discretion to set the pay on this of all elected officials.
Correct.
So to change any of it is a substantive change, so it basically starts over.
To change any of it, to change any of the dollar amounts, or to change who is affected or down in any way would require new advertisement. The advertisement is specific as to the date and time and place of the public hearing. It's well as a salary increase to be considered at that meeting.
And just for clarification, how much time does they give us if we do change to the August 15th? Is that enough time for qualifying?
Yes, we can start that. Leah and I have discussed it in depth, and if you all move forward with a different motion and direct it to advertise, then we can do that and have it done prior to the beginning of the qualification.
But that would have to be like today.
Yes, that motion would have to be done today.
No, that's not what I was gonna say. Then, we would have to vote on it for sure the
On the
next time.
15th.
On the 15th.
But we have to vote twice, right?
No.
We don't,
I mean, it's tight, but I'm one vote. I'm gonna continue to say that I'm one vote. I'm willing to vote today. You guys know which way my vote is gonna go. But I also do respect how you guys feel. But it's $17,000. It's been 20 years.
Any further discussion?
I can't give myself a raise. I'm sorry, I have to vote against it. If I thought that this was, that I wouldn't receive the raise unless I was reelected, which I would be cool with that, but giving myself a raise in January. I'll accept the money, but I can't.
That's accurate.
Well,
I get it. I mean, I understand your thought process. I don't get it.
thank you.
I respect your decision.
So our options now came.
Either vote to approve this resolution or in the alternative, just ask that a different parameters on the pay be advertised, and we can have that public hearing at the August 15th meeting.
But that doesn't satisfy your concerns, Mr. Riggs.
No.
Okay. So it sounds like our options are, if the two of us want to vote for it now, it proceeds because with a quorum of 3, it's just simple majority.
That is absolutely correct.
So do you, Ms. Sherry?
Yes. Are you open to another motion, including the mayor, although that doesn't feel right to increase his when he's not here?
And that's why I asked Kane if we could go and then, when he's here, make that motion. Go ahead, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, because if you don't get, if you change it, and you don't do it today, even though he's not gonna be qualified.
It's not going to make it, because the next time we would have the availability that he would be here without calling a meeting first.
And then you would miss that window.
We have to advertise on 3 consecutive weeks, so that would be impossible.
But again, my question, that doesn't mean that you couldn't bring the mayor and stuff at
Another time.
Right, but it might have to go into effect in 2026.
Right.
Yes.
I don't see how that should be a problem, being as though he doesn't want his raise. I mean, I'm willing to vote today. Let's get it over with. We know what it is. If it does not pass, we'll be stuck in the past. If you guys are okay with that, I'm one vote.
So if it doesn't pass today, we can always come back and do something different, but not in time for it to take effect, before the next election. It would be postponed, it would be pushed off.
We'll be stuck in the past.
Absent calling a special, absent a call meeting, that is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for entertaining the discussions. These are things we can't decide separate from here. We have to talk about it and hash them out and make decisions here. So, based on understanding it's been 20 years and there needs to be an increase, and we can talk with the mayor and increase his separately later. I think I I'm willing to support, second your motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's go, Sherry.
All
Congratulations.
nays? Okay, so the motion passes 2-1. Thank you. So, we are down to agenda item 13, motion to approve resolution 2023-34. This is a resolution to adopt the First Amendment to the City of Statesboro schedule of fees, rates, and fines for fiscal year 2024. Mr. King.
Mayor, members of the council, earlier we had discussion about the aid to construction fees, and we removed that from the ordinance. Now we need to amend the fees and charges schedule to include the aid to construction fee in the fees and charges schedule. But at the same time, we also recognize that when you approved the fees and charges schedule at the last meeting, there were about 4 items that were omitted, and we need to, we're asking you today if you would amend the fees and charges schedule to correct that. So first, first recommendation is that you would increase the aid to construction from $1.60 to $3.20 per gallon. And then on page 15, for the elderly low-income credit monthly reduction to the bill, that's $7, and that is for a solid waste fee. And then there on page 23, there's a fee credit for elderly and low-income credit monthly fee reduction bill to residential domestic accounts inside the city, and that would be increased to $5. And then the fee credit for elderly and low-income credit monthly fee reduction bill to residential domestic accounts outside the city, that would increase to $10. And again, I mentioned earlier, the aid to construction fee will be $3.20. We talked about all of this during our budget process, and so we recommend the amendment to the fees and charges schedule on these proposed credits and the aid to construction. Recommended for approval.
Thank you, Mr. King. The elderly low-income credit monthly reduction, so that's folks who go make application to Action Pack and get approved, then they can get a $7 a month reduction on solid waste and another $5 on their
Water and sewer bill. Yes.
And it's $10 for folks outside the city.
Right, because they pay a higher rate.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you for clarifying that, so that the city does that and tries to help out our low-income residents in that way by reduction in their monthly bill. Do we have any other discussion or questions about it? Okay, then I'll call for a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda item 13 passes. Agenda item 14, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 202-35, resolution authorizing execution of documents with Truist for refunding a revenue bond necessary to refinance the installation of public infrastructure in the old registered tab. Mr. King, tell us about it.
Mayor, members of the council, the old registered tab, the city borrowed $4,750,000 to fund the infrastructure improvements out around Publix and all. And when we did that, when we borrowed that money, that was an interest-only payment. And we financed it for a 4-year period. And so the 4 years is up. It's coming up. And so we either need to take out permanent financing, or we went to the bank and talked with our financial advisor and talked with Truist to see if they would extend the current interest only, if they would allow us to refinance with the same not completely the same terms, but under the same conditions, and which they agreed to do. The reason we asked them that, when we initiated the TAD, it took longer to get the TAD actually under construction and work done. Therefore, we're starting to see revenues from the TAD. We had some revenue this time that helped to pay that interest payment, but we don't have enough revenue that could pay a debt payment of, say, almost $400,000. And so we're recommending to you that you approve the refinancing of these bonds with Truist. The interest rate is going to increase. The current interest rate is 2%, in that range. The new one is going to be 5.95%. But again, it will be an interest-only rate payment. So we're going to go from about we're going to go from $52,000 every 6 months, one in February and one in August, to about $150,000 in February and August. And so we recommend approval of the refinancing, the refunding of these bonds with Truist.
Thank you. Any questions from discussion? So we're all still in good shape. There were just so many delays and we're not generating enough money yet.
Well, if you look at what's going on out at, we feel pretty confident with Publix and the strip center. They got a new Starbucks is going up. A new Chick-fil-A is going to be going up. I may be telling stuff that makes folks come down. New Chick-fil-A is going to go up. There's going to be a new package store that's going to be built. And you see all the different pads that are out there. And then there's some other development, maybe even some housing development. And you've recently seen some annexations that's coming online. And so we think it just bodes well for the TAD that in 3 more years, we certainly should be in a position that the TAD should be producing the revenue that we need in order to take out the permanent financing. And so that's what I would recommend to you.
Thank you. So call for a motion.
So, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. The motion, agenda item 14 for me.
I will need to tell you that we will have to pay some closing costs and things of that nature. And those funds will be paid for out of our general fund. However, we can recover those funds from the TAD when the revenue is being produced. But just want to make sure that you knew that. And I do want to recognize that Doug Gephardt is here from Davenport. He came all the way from the Atlanta area, so I don't know if he wants to say anything to the bar, but he drove all the way down here. He has a nice bow tie on.
Mr. Gephardt, thank you for coming. You want to come tell us, yes, this is what we need to do? Or whatever you want to share?
Yes, appreciate it. Again, Doug Gephardt with Davenport, City Supervisor. Just a pleasure to work on this. If you guys have no questions, happy to do it. One thing I will say is that there is a second resolution that is the next item. Just a clarification, legally, the only thing that we're able to pledge is the actual TAD incremental revenues, but because the debt service is actually greater than what those revenues are, we need to have this, what we'll call assurance resolution, support resolution, that essentially allows the city to support that and then collect the revenues from the developer. So it's basically made the city's acting as a middleman to give the bank comfort that there's going to be enough dollars there. And Truist was generous enough to allow that provision in the bond document, or separate from the bond documents, and they got comfort with that. So we're happy with that result.
You said we would have to pay for the closing costs of the general fund. How much would the closing costs be on $4.75 million?
It's roughly around $130,000.
That'll be our closing cost?
We've already voted for it.
No, we haven't.
Oh, we have?
Yeah, we
did?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to do it.
It gotta be done.
I know it. I was just curious. You know.
Okay.
How housing is not there, so. They closed the cost compared to what I'm doing.
Yeah. So agenda item 15 did pass, we did vote. Okay. And then agenda item 16 is Mr. Gephardt is telling us this is related. Mr. King, you want to say anything else about it?
I think Bill did a great job. We just need to assure the bank, to this point, we have made sure that the debt was paid, and all we're doing is providing them a level of comfort that we're going to make sure that our bill was paid.
Thank you. So 14 already passed, and now I need a motion to approve resolution 2336, the one Mr. King was just talking about.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now agenda item 15 is passed. And we move on to 16, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2023-37, a resolution to accept 2022 assistance to firefighters grant for the city of Statesboro in the amount of $101,374.54. This will come with a 10% match in the amount of $10,137.45. These funds will be used to purchase new self-contained breathing apparatus, air compressor, and cascade system, as well as the fire department physician program. Anything else we need to vote? Okay, I see Chief standing back there. We should vote for this. Chief Williams?
I would appreciate it, yes.
Sounds like a good program, like good equipment to have. Any discussion, council? Okay, gonna call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 16 passes. Agenda item 17, consideration of a motion to approve a sole source purchase and installation for municipal emergency services in the amount of $70,856.70 for a Gulf Air SCBA air compressor and cascade system. This purchase is paid for from AFG grant fund. This is related to what we're talking
Yes,
about?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We, Chief, was a little bit concerned because we're getting you to accept the grant. And then we're coming right behind that and asking you to approve the expenditure of those funds, which we feel very comfortable about. And in this day and time, it's a sole source, and we need to get it. And this is essential for our firefighters. The air packs and this cascade is important to be able to make sure we can provide that life safety. And so we do recommend approval.
Thank you. Any discussion, council? Gonna call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
17 passes. Agenda item 18, consideration of a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Brooklyn to provide sewer treatment services. Tell us about this, please.
Mayor, members of the council, the city of Brooklyn came to us, it's been a couple of years ago, when the funds were available during COVID. And they were able to get a $2 million grant so that they can extend sewer services to their community. And they have a number of businesses that need, and residential, that need wastewater services. And so we've been working with them on this intergovernmental agreement to be able to provide some capacity at our sewer plant. And I think this agreement is to provide them up to 300,000 gallons a day for sewer capacity at our waste treatment plant. And we've been working with them. Initially, we think it's going to take them a while to get ramped up. They've got to get the system built. But we believe it's a good thing for our community. We think it's a good thing for that we're working with Brooklyn. They need our help, and I've heard from some of the businesses in that area, and they need that also because they're having to run businesses on septic tanks. And so this is the first step in the process. We still need to get the SDS approved, but we've been working with their city attorney and their engineer, and staff has been negotiating these things, and it's a good deal, I think, for us, but we're also recognizing in order for Brooklyn to get started, the way that we're working with them on ramping up those fees so that they have a chance to get people on their system and not have to come out of their pocket with so much money, but over time it will build up for us. the other thing that they did have concern about is initially you could look at, and this may be like once you start with sewer, it's hard to say this is gonna be a 5-year contract. Because once it starts flowing, it's sort of hard to stop. And so I think in this agreement, you'll see there's a 50-year term. And that was to provide a level of comfort for the folks in Brooklyn, and we certainly understand their concern. And so we recommend this agreement to you, and we're just glad we do demonstrate that we can work with our neighbors. And we recognize that they have identified an area that they're going to serve, and some of it actually gets a little close to us. And we had that discussion. But we also discussed the fact that depending upon what the project is, Brooklyn may serve it or we might serve it. And we would have those type of discussions. And it also says that they can't add an industrial customer without coming to us because this is looking really more for residential. And again, they have limited capacity in our sewer system. But we also recognize that one day Brooklyn might decide that they want to have their own waste treatment plant. And should that happen, that provides us some level of protection as well. So we do recommend approval of this IGA.
Thank you. Just like a lot of small towns, they have a lot of septic tanks. There's a growing, they need commercial waste treatment. And Steve, this is something we can do and should do. Mr. Hodges?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other discussion or council? And I call for a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 18, the intergovernmental agreement, this passes. Agenda item 19, consideration of a motion to approve an award of contract in the not to exceed amount of $380,000 to Goodwin Mills Haywood in collaboration with Bullock County for the Statesboro Bullock County Long Range Transportation Plan. 50% matching funds pledged by the city of Statesboro will come from our 2018 Kicks Plus Fund. What else do we need to know, Mr. Kenny?
It's a good opportunity for us to work with Bullock County on transportation. With the growth that we're looking at, we need to make sure that we are planning for how we will grow and making sure that we're addressing those transportation needs that are so important.
And this is also required, isn't it? We have to do it every 10 years according to federal regulation in the state or something?
Depends on what type of grant funding you're
You do have a comprehensive plan that's required, but not so much the transportation plan. But it's a smart thing to do.
That's right, and it would depend on what type of federal dollars if you're applying for federal grants or GDOT funds that are provided through a federal program, oftentimes they'll require long-range planning for this nature. But it is separate from common plan process.
So it's smart to do it, and it puts us in a better position with some of the grants that we want.
Absolutely, and we do believe, we reached out to the county on this matter. It's been a while back, a year or two ago, to start this process. It's going to take some time to get us to this point, but we want to work collaboratively with the county on this measure.
Makes sense, because their roads run right into ours, so we need to work together. Thank you. Any further discussion, questions, council? Okay, then I call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 19 passes unanimously. Agenda item 20, consideration of a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding MOU between the city of Statesboro and Bullock County for the resurfacing of Coldwater Road.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, so the county has bid out the repaving of Coldwater Road. So part of Coldwater Road, some parts of it is our responsibility. And so this is an agreement for us to be able to work together. And instead of us having to go out and bid out our work, and so it actually gives us a better deal because based on volume, on Coldwater Road, our share is only $33,000, and so we do recommend, approval of this so that we can get that work done, and so we don't have two different contractors out there trying to do Kiwanis Road.
Thank you. Any question or discussion, council?
No.
Call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of passing the motion?
Aye.
So 20 does pass. 21, consideration of a motion to award a contract to Sykes Brothers Incorporated in the amount of $1,942,128.35 for the fiscal year 2023 annual resurfacing project for work based on unit prices in the contractor's bid. This project is paid for by GDOT LMIG funds and 2018 T-SPLOST funds.
I don't know that I can add a lot more. You have a list of roads that we will be doing. We do recommend it to you. It's just like everything else that we've been doing when we've been bringing construction or purchases to you. The inflation has impacted this as well. The good thing is our voters did approve T-SPLOST and we anticipated increasing our contribution out of T-SPLOST toward the resurfacing. And so we're glad we can continue to do that program. So we do recommend approval.
Thank you. Any question or discussion, council? I'll call for a motion. All in favor? Thank you, and all in favor?
Aye.
21 passes. Other business from city council. Anyone have anything else they need to share today? We can commend city staff in the city hall and the streets, all the folks who work together to put on our wonderful downtown live. Ms. Gaines had a lot to do with that. So we can commend everybody for those downtown live concert series. We've had 3 of them, and the last one will be
Thursday.
Yeah, this Thursday night, Liquid Pleasure, from 6 to 8. So we invite everybody, even if you didn't come to the previous ones, come. It's a fun night downtown.
Okay, I think we do have, we might make a little news here. Olympia, what time will we start?
We'll start at 7.
Push it back to 7.
Because of the heat.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of the heat, we want to just be mindful. And so the band was willing to push it back 7, let the sun go down, give us a little bit of break, 7 to 9, and so.
So the food vendor's gonna be pushed to 6, or still start at 5?
They'll be pushed back.
So food vendors all set up and ready to serve at 6, and then the concert starts at 7. So for those who haven't been following, if you live under a rock or something, there's, we're having these free, I'm sorry, if you just haven't been paying attention. The city this year has started this series of 4 free concerts downtown. And it's like street dance, street fair, a really fun event. So a good time for everybody, yes, exactly. And that's gonna be at 7 o'clock Thursday night. Thanks for letting us know that.
Yeah, we were concerned because I think Thursday, the temperature may be approaching 100. And so to push it back an hour would give everybody a little bit of break. And we want people to come out.
That's the most frequent comment I've heard from people is it's great, but it's too hot. Let's push it back further next year. So wonderful. It's in the trial. Any other business from city council members? Okay. Then we would like to hear from city manager, Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, I do want to mention a couple of things that your FYI pack was pretty full.
Yes, sir.
But a couple of things that we want to mention to you of note. I do want to ask this question. Y'all approved the rehab policy amendments, but I just want to make sure that for the record, we're on the record, that you also approved the use of $300,000 in interest to do the reconstruction for that program, because it is important that as we go forward, we need to get the contractor moving. And I'm pleased to tell you that. So we got awarded a contract for 6 homes for rehab. So they've started rehabbing some homes. We just opened bids for 20 more homes, and we had at least 3 contractors. and so that's encouraging. And so it's moving in the right direction. But I just, and I don't know, did we cover that in the budget? No, we didn't cover it in the budget. But I'm asking council, because it is our plan to move forward with using that $300,000 of interest. If I want to be on record.
That was my understanding.
Okay. That was mine. Okay.
That's what the record said.
Thank you. And I appreciate y'all.
Are we gonna make a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you. It goes somewhere. Okay. In your FYI packet also has security enhancement program. And I just wanted to make sure I called that out to you to make sure you look at it. And at the next work session in August, we'll come back, and that is taking $80,000 of interest, and these are the terms that we would make available to encourage property owners, especially places that have had high incidence of crime, to use technology, video cameras. And so I want to make sure that, and we'll get it back before we get the work session, but just want to call that to your attention. The city campus project, at the last work session, we had a presentation by Dominique Calvi about the city campus, and we had to go back out and rebid that. We have a new bid, and we had to pull back from that $4 million deal, and so the bid did come in within range. The bid was a little bit over $2 billion, so we should have sufficient funds to cover our the contract administration and the design and the improvements, and it should be sufficient funds for any adjustment that we make for the meeting space. And in your packet, what we did show is that there was concern about not being able to get a larger number of people gathered in one big training room, and so the architect has shown us a way to be able to get that meeting space so we could get at least about 112 people assembled.
Amazing.
So that's a good thing. So we told them to move forward with that plan.
Sorry to interrupt, but that actually, the fact that they're doing away with a lot of little small rooms and making 2 big rooms with a folding door between them should save money.
But those folding doors, that's expensive. But it still should be, we should have sufficient funds to be able to cover that. So that'll be some added costs, we'll see. Gotcha. And then wanted to bring to your attention 2 more. The mayor and I think Councilmember Chavers asked us about some street name change, and I know Councilmember Briggs also. So your policy, in order to do a street name change, you amended the ordinance that requires that you have to direct us to start that process, because for an existing street name, we need to notify the property owners or the property owners on those streets of potential street name change. And then there's one more thing we need to make sure. We also have, for safety purposes, have to make sure that these are not duplicates. And so we have to go to our street name change committee to just make sure that that's not happening. And so in this case, we have the Grady Street, West Grady Street extension, and Ms. Chavers mentioned wanting to name that Loretta's Way, and then again on Tillman, we talked about between Tillman, between
Nance and CVS.
Fair Road, right, from Fair Road to 301 South, between South Main And you wanna name that Snookies or?
Snooki something, I don't know yet. I need to talk with Jeff, make sure something, they'll be. Snooki Boulevard, is what I'm thinking.
I'm sorry, you have to
That was the restaurant, that was the restaurant, right?
Yes.
Bruce Young's dad's restaurant.
That was the restaurant.
And they already have a booth on,
what's Snooki's?
Where the.
right there, right where the Verizon is.
Where Verizon.
Yes.
And so, but in order to start that process, I think you all to authorize us to start the process of asking you for direction.
Thank you. So the process that we set in place, we have to request it direct staff, and then y'all send letters out to the people who live nearby, is that the process?
That's correct. Every addressee would receive a notice of the public hearing that would be set for a minimum of 30 days after the notice gets sent out to the addressees.
Okay, and I didn't know we had a street name change committee.
Well, that is more, it's a staff, it's staff and it's, public safety folks. It includes, it may not actually be ours, it may be the county, because they have to maintain, the 911, making sure things aren't due.
So if we initiate the process, if we direct you today to start this process, then it'll come back to us after letters have gone out and then we have a public hearing where people can express their concerns. So we vote at that point 30 days from now or longer.
If you wouldn't vote at the public hearing, we just hold the public hearing. The ordinance actually requires the vote be held at least 14 days after the public hearing.
The public hearing would be a city council or would be set?
It would be before y'all, it would be scheduled before y'all, but y'all would not be able to take action on the day of the public hearing. You would have to wait 14 days after the public hearing. So it'll be on the next council agenda.
Okay. The public hearing would be part of the city council.
Right, but what y'all need to do is just have staff initiate a notification procedure for a public hearing on these items.
Okay. So looking for a motion to direct staff to initiate it. Should we do it separately on the West Brady extension?
Yes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then also we're looking for a motion to initiate the name change process for the Tilden Road.
John, do you have the name?
Not yet.
He doesn't have the name.
I keep asking that, and Jeff, no, he doesn't.
Can we
Can
get a name and then come
Well, I
back?
have a name.
Yeah,
We'll come back, we can
So we'll wait on that one.
Okay, so we just do we're approving,
They were in a
directing
hurry, so I'm
staff,
not in a hurry.
we're directing staff to begin the process on Loretta's Way, West Brady extension. But we're gonna come back, you're gonna come back and have a name.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anything
Claire.
else, Mr. King?
Let me clarify that. I need to make sure we can do the apostrophe on the Loretta's Way.
Oh, yeah.
So let's come back to that one as well.
What was the statement? I'm sorry, did you, Jason?
He's concerned.
Come down Loretta Way versus
Loretta Way versus Loretta's Way.
So we'll defer the vote
Both.
till next month.
As long as you're good with that condition, if you will.
Well, I don't know because Councilwoman Chavers,
I
I haven't heard about this, so I'm okay with deferring until you
Till
find
August
out.
first.
Yep, and Johnny, you should have a name by then.
Okay.
So what do we do with that motion?
Take it back.
Rescind.
Okay, so we rescind the previous motion.
So we rescind the motion to initiate the process on name change. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Penny?
I think that was good.
Yes, sir, thank you. And so we have agenda item 24 is public comments, and we do have someone who signed up to read.
I'm sorry, I did want one more thing. I did want to just let everyone know that, we are getting close to being almost through with the renovation. at City Hall. We're starting up here now. But HR, the clinic, I think they're working on some signage. You get a chance with, probably the next week or so, the third floor should be pretty much done. And we've got some work down on the first floor, and we saved our space for last, but we've got people moved around. Olivia's been moved, Brittany's been moved, Leah will be moving up here when this space is completed, but we're hopefully the short road on having the renovations done.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's patience through the process. It's not easy to work with hammering and such going on, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my staff was going back.
Something else?
Demetrius?
We did it already. We did it.
I missed it, thank you.
Thank you. So, public comments, agenda item 24, we did have Ms. Sue Palmer sign up to address us. We invite you to the podium to
Thank
share
you.
what you did today.
Thank you, I just want to come back and thank y'all. But I am concerned about the garbage cans that are being left out on the road 24/7. We have, I know we don't have the city, we have HOA, but we have compliance. The garbage cans are supposed to be put out the night before and picked up the afternoon, they're picked up. Well, on Carmel, Lee Street, and East Main, they're out for about 3 months already. And so,
Say the streets again.
Carmel.
And,
Yeah,
Highway
that's Carmel, East Main, and Lee Street. And what I'm finding, and I talked with the compliance officer, is people are buying these houses and renting them out. 97 Lee Street is a prime example of what they're doing to these people. Just they're putting them in areas and the house just disintegrates. It just goes down. Garbage can never gets picked up. I mean, it's bad. And what I'm finding out is a lot of people just buy them and for the money to rent them out. And they're charging a lot of money now. So.
when you say garbage cans, are you talking about the city garbage cans, about this big, or you talking about the big?
She's talking about the rollout.
The rollout.
Yeah, the ones that roll out, no.
In people's yards.
In people's yards.
And we can notify.
And they're on the right of way. They're on the right of way. You know what I'm talking about. You go right down those are the main streets I go to. You know, but they are, but now like Savannah Avenue today, they had their garbage cans out because I went down there. Now tomorrow they'll be gone because then those people, I don't know, I don't know if they care more or what. But anyway, the owners of the home are actually responsible for that. The property owner of the home is responsible. And so that's where it needs to be. And people, like I said, what I've discovered, and I talked with the compliance officer, and I talked with the compliance officer before, it looks to me like the people are buying these houses, renting them out for high income, and just expect them. They don't cut the grass, don't put the garbage cans up or anything. And it's pretty slummy looking. If you want the truth, it looks bad. You know, I don't mean that to be ugly, but it's.
Yes, ma'am. You live there.
That's a fact, yeah. And like I said, there's no HOA, but there is compliance. And I know David is just one person right now, but we've got a new person coming in. But this needs to be addressed if you're going to keep Statesboro up. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
To clarify, you're talking about the individual household rollout trash can, not the big dumpster thing.
Right, the rollout cart should be put out the night before or first thing in the morning by about like 7:30.
Right.
But at the end of the day, people should be rolling back. And I don't know, do we have in our ordinance a fine? We do the process. So what we need to do is we need to identify those locations and we have notified the folks, because I know, Ms. Palmer, I have one that I used to pass on Zetterbar all the time, and they left it out there, and the code enforcement officer made contact with them, and now they take it back.
Right.
And so, but the positive thing is the property owner would be getting the notice, and if they are assessed the fine, they'll start making their tenant get it back. And so we'll just be more aggressive on making sure that, and I'm not trying to get you to do our work for us, but if you could give us any specific addresses, it really would be helpful when you see it.
And you can ask David Bells or we can ask them. People want, they know what.
They both know.
But now what I found out with the renters, like everybody gets a big television now, and they put the boxes out there, and that's not garbage, that's trash.